Waluswaka James are my names. I represent the people of Bunyole West from the mighty district of Taleja. Hono Chair, accountability is personal to holder. I think with your guidance, Chair, usually when I come here, Chair, I like your guidance. You and your deputy, your legal counsels. But Chair, if we entertain accounting officers to delegate roles which are not delegatable, it's going to be very bad. Let the accounting officers delegate the roles of going to London, where. But here, where they are getting money, I think as a...
Order, Chairman.
Chair,
order.
Protect me.
Order.
Chair, when somebody gets money and he feels, Chair, I'm
Point
still...
of order, Chairman.
Chair.
Maybe what you do,
Yes.
just conclude.
Okay, Chair. Chair, as I conclude, I was saying I can't allow accounting officers who expend money themselves. When it comes to accountability, washing plates, and you give others to wash. The members don't want to listen to this, but as PLU, I cannot do that. Thank you, Chair.
Now, the team from KCCA. Honorable Musi, you had something to add?
Yes. We are alive to what my senior colleague, the head legal, drew us to section 43(6), that an accounting officer may delegate. However, there are two things. And the chair guided that in the 12th Parliament, we've set a precedent, and this is not even regarding KCCA. This has nothing to do with we are sure that the Deputy ED is very competent to handle all these issues. But there is a reason why accountability issues, we've been sticking to the accounting officer. And that has usually been the practice, that the first issue is, can we find whether the accounting officer is properly before us? And there's a reason why 43(5) comes before 6. 43(5) says, an accounting officer shall be responsible and personally accountable to Parliament for the activities of a vote. And then the specific law, which is the KCCA Act, also sets that quite clearly. Secondly, yes, the accounting officer may delegate. The first provision is couched in mandatory terms, that he or she shall be personally responsible and may delegate one of these functions like he has delegated. And the delegation, I would imagine, given the, maybe Councillor Rosa may agree with me, that it should not be the norm, it should be the exception. Given that the letter doesn't state a very stringent reason why she shouldn't make it here, I don't think that we should set that other precedent, that when it comes to accountability, it's one of those roles that may be delegated at will. Because this is also critically important. It only happens once in a year. It's the only time that we are interrogating KCCA. So I'm inclined to believe that there should have been a much more stronger reason. And this has nothing to do with the competence of the good people before us. It has everything to do with the person taking responsibility. And accountability begins with that. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy ED. Any additional clarification before I can weigh in to guide?
Honorable Chair, I have listened to the concerns of Parliament. They are valid concerns. And this is the first opportunity to meet with toCOSASE for this 12th Parliament. And we would want to have our record straight, to be witnesses that have value to the committee. Whilst Section 43, Part 8 of the Public Finance Management Act, accounting officer enjoined the accounting officer to be accountable for whatever she delegates. I note that there are reservations of the committee, but Part 8 of that section reads basically, an accounting officer shall be personally accountable for a function or responsibility that is delegated under this section. Honorable Chair, the powers are within your realm to make the decision whether to admit us as witnesses competent, and we are open to what is taken by the committee. I thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have addressed our minds to the provisions of the law, specifically the Constitution, the KCCA Act that designate the executive director as the accounting officer. We have addressed our mind to Section 43 of the Public Finance Management Act that provides, among others, that in some instances the accounting officers may delegate. We have taken onto record that and taken note of the record that KCCA was invited of August 2026 for a meeting scheduled for today, the 26th of August 2026. We are also taking note that the letter that is titled Delegation of Deputy Executive Director to attend a meeting to consider the report of the Auditor General for the year ended 31st December 2025, signed by Sharifa Buzeki, Executive Director, has been, after our thorough internalization, we have reservations and remain constrained to appreciate if actually the disclosure that the signature on this letter was generated electronically wouldn't qualify this letter a subject of investigation itself. If it was to delegate and designate a deputy executive director, then we have reasons to investigate and interrogate the accuracy and the certainty that actually its generation was secured with the full consent and the permission of Ewan Sharifa Buzeki as the executive director. Aware that the same section captured and echoed by the deputy ED makes her personally liable and responsible for any actions allegedly delegated. Now, it is our interest and the procedural duty for us to take that where we cannot with certainty confirm that the ED consented to the use of her e-signature, and we have not yet cross-examined under what arrangement does KCCA allow and permit use of e-signatures. Now, in the circumstances, we remain with a vacuum as to the admissibility of this letter to constitute a document delegating the duty of accounting officer. And in that regard, we are unable to qualify this as effective delegation. Cognizant of the fact that KCCA took efforts to have a delegation appear before us, I want to appreciate your presence that you took efforts to appear and shall not reprimand you further on that, save for rescheduling another interface with instruction that you appear with the executive director in person. And being that KCCA is in close proximity with Parliament, we trust that if the ED is in Uganda, she could lead a team, we commence proceedings, and where possible request to delegate within the meeting. We believe for our inaugural interface, that's the list we can entertain, but not to say the list, she must appear and be present throughout the proceedings. And thirdly, we want to send a message to accounting officers. Now, for us as PAC COSASE of the 12 of the Parliament, any accounting officer or entity so invited that continue to disregard without reasonable cause and without putting us on notice invitations of the committee, we appear and sit as a committee facilitated by Parliament of Uganda to constitute committee meetings. We want to commit that we shall internalize the law, the rules, as to whether such accounting officers and agencies or individuals should not be held responsible for the loss occasioned by a committee being constituted at the expense of taxpayer, and we fail to transact without reasonable cause. We are going to internalize and interrogate the law, and we are likely to develop a finding that we shall hold accountable such accounting officers in their individual capacity or the entity for any loss so occasioned by non-appearance, because you must have the courtesy of writing in time. For this particular reference, the letter was only received today, but being that they are present, I would excuse them on that note. And before I take leave on this, the issue for consideration under KCCA are multiple. We are seeing accumulated of 239.226 billion, occasioning an increase by 7.52 billion from previous years, or from the previous year. Issues to do with health facilities, the increase in population, and the inability of the health centers to serve the population. The Auditor General cited issues to do with the Kampala City Mortuary, the inability for available fridges to contain and the need, issues to do with city cemeteries, and issues to do with land, acquired land with encumbrances and not utilized, issues to do with the solid management, how land was bought and has not been utilized up to now. For example, for 2015, land estimated at 5.34 billion procured but not utilized for intended purpose, and no evidence of development. Issues of landfills, delays in compensating victims, the garbage trucks failing to collect garbage in the city. All these are observations by the Auditor General. The uncollected waste, issues to do with Chitezi landfill and the Boyala landfill, bidding, the questions to do with the bidding, how for some bids they could secure only one applicant, which has been questioned by the Auditor General. How come for the whole of Kampala and Uganda, a bid of 8.4 billion, only one bidder could apply? So there are questions to do with the procurement, bids to do with before that. So when you look at these observations, and they are critical in nature that we must require the attendance of accounting officer. And if there is any delegation, it must be in compliance and in accordance with the law. We cannot now carry the duty of interrogating how and when e-signatures are generated within KCCA for matters of accountability. That would be to stretch so much. Equally, the delegation was done today. Our presumption was that the ED is available in Uganda and was available at office, save for the clarification that it was e-generated. Now, in the circumstances, we find it very imperative that Kampala Capital City Authority must be duly and effectively constituted to answer and respond to audit matters as observed by the Auditor General in the audit report for the year ended 2024-2025. Now, in the circumstances,
First, thank you for the adjustment. We'll make ourselves available on the 2nd day of September. And we pray that we shall indeed be led by the Executive Director. I'm positive that she'll be back on station. Thank you for your wisdom and hospitality.
thank you, members. Allow me adjourn this meeting to Wednesday 2nd at 8 a.m. for a subsequent interaction with the Kampala Capital City Authority. In the next 5 minutes, we shall usher in another entity, gaming and lotteries. This meeting is adjourned.